Tonight, like every other night, is like no other. You know, I had dreams once too, but it turned out being nothing more than clouds in my coffee. So the question that gets posed to me all the time is, why don't I rate anime, or anything at all for that matter? And the answer is, I don't know how to, or if I did, I would do a terrible job at it, assigning a numerical variable whose correspondence to a show's goodness or lack thereof seems trivial. I know you can't accurately define objectivity, what is necessarily good or bad in terms of art or any kind of artistic medium. It's inconsequential. You can try, but I just don't see the point in doing it. So artistic expression explained with programmatic or mathematical or heavily calculated comparisons and evaluations makes no sense to me. This is one of the reasons why, while I'm good at art, I wouldn't want to go to art school to have my work critiqued by a bunch of pretentious fuckwits, grading based on opinions and not some kind of universal standard, because it doesn't exist. This is how we get those hipsters, those students who submit a canvas smeared with literal shit and go on about how symbolic it is about our society or some other nonsensical metaphor, and the professor falls in love with it. Now, this is why I don't normally critique anyone's art or music, film, and certainly not anime, because chances are I would probably be awful at it, and doing so is usually inconsequential for someone else's enjoyment, so I just leave it out altogether. With math or science, usually there's a definitive right from wrong, usually either correct or incorrect, with not much in between, because a specific formula was or wasn't applied in a specific way to get an outcome. And while this may work with science and math, it doesn't quite translate over well with art. In fact, I don't even think it exists in art. We can't create a general census agreement on what is good and what is bad, and if we do, it normally changes pretty frequently. So, like how we get those ostentatious asshats who make silly, abstract, nonsensical remarks expressing something's brilliance, and if you happen to disagree or have a conflicting opinion, you're the one that's wrong. Making a precisely calculated series of logical attributes and variables to assess a show's goodness is obscene. Who would meticulously rate an anime like that? Come on.
For the rating calculations, we have dynamic foreground lighting, oscillation evaluation at 8.32, ambient viscillation sound signature pitch at a 6.26, girth and the thickness of a line work to respect. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? You know, like, you don't have to go on about rating a show like that. Come on. In science, we need to have relativity, comparisons to an opposition. If it's good, good how, or good in relation to what, because consensus is constantly changing. Math is something pragmatic, it's beautiful, something that is in and itself perfect, and to give something like art a numerical score is something that I am personally terrible at. It's a methodical approach, where in computer science everything to some extent is a Boolean algebraic expression. So when trying to solve or figure out a problem, whether it's a real world or mathematical one, we need to use an arithmetical problem-solving system, normally by many consistent or valid comparisons. While it is or may be called object-oriented programming, funny enough, objectivity doesn't work well at all when comparing ideas or concepts like good or bad. There are no constant distributions of comparable variables for things that we can't apply mathematically, obviously. What I mean by this is that comparing shows in terms of enjoyment to a score, it's a unique score pertaining to that specific person, and when associating a majority census, it's only a broad, general sort of pseudo-definitive conclusion. If I like it, I like it. If I don't, then I don't. That's all that really should matter. Okay, so here's a big, fat, heavy Java book with all kinds of complicated
numerical comparisons and arguments, precisely calculating the order of events to arrive at a correct mathematical conclusion to a specific problem. Now let's apply the same formula to a show.